This is a live back and forth. And so if there's anything that you want to have discussed or you want to have put out there, then feel free to put it into the comment section and we will discuss it and when we have an opportunity. And so let's hop right into it. And so just stay with me, if you will. When I was growing up, we had a lot of people who had interracial marriages. When I was growing up, there was a time where Black athletes there was a discussion about their marriages. And so there was a point where people would say, anytime that they had a Black athlete, especially a male Black athlete, oh, he's going to go out and marry outside of his race. He's going to go and get a white woman or someone who is extremely light-skinned. And that was the conversation that went back and forth. Like, why is that a thing? You know, as time has gone on, there's been more interracial marriages, and there's been this more of an accepting thing in the Black community, in the Black culture, whereas you love whoever you love, whether they're Black, white, or any kind of different race. That's not the topic, but it leads into the topic of, in society today, there is a concentration and a push towards showing interracial marriages and showing things like that on commercials, showing interracial marriages and showing people of mixed races because they're more marketable. They blend to both crowds. But that's not the topic. The topic comes down to when we're talking about a concept that I have termed as, and maybe some people have also, as a white pass. And the white pass relates directly back to what we were talking about, because a white pass is if you are a Black person or a person of color, it's not just Black people. If you are a person of color, that you have to have some kind of connection to a white person to make other people, Black and white, feel more comfortable, feel more accepting of who you are. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not a indictment against interracial marriage. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with interracial couples. Absolutely nothing wrong at all. The concept that we're discussing, though, is the white pass. For example, President Barack Obama, wonderful president as far as I'm concerned. I know others may feel differently. Could he have gotten elected if he had Black parents, a Black mother, and a Black father? Or is it a situation of where, because his mother was white, that he had a white pass? And so people felt more comfortable saying, hey, this gentleman is not just one of those guys out here from the block. He is somebody who understands both sides. He is somebody who understands the American way. And so that he can be someone who can represent us. That is a question that has been posed amongst people. Kamala Harris, our current vice president, Madam Kamala Harris, Black father, Indian, a mother of Indian descent. And she's married to a white gentleman. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Great. But did she have to have that as a white pass? Would we have been accepting, or could Joe Biden have won his election if there was a Black woman who's married to a Black man? And it even goes even a little bit further into complexion as well, as the darker hue, the darker skin that one may have. And so the discussion point, which we will go into even further next week when we will have guests who will discuss the white pass. Is it a thing? And is it a thing that is it a thing? And is it something that as people who are trying to move forward and solve answers, is that something that we really have to challenge right now? Is that something that we really need to address right now? And then the cherry on top is, from a perspective of a Christian man or a Christian woman, is that something that the church needs to deal with? Is it an issue that we can call a religious issue, a Christian issue, the white pass? And so let me go even further. Why is the white pass problematic? Or why would it be problematic? Because you may say, man, it's not a big deal. All right, well, people want to be with someone, people want to be represented by someone who's more diverse. That does appeal to all facets of the community. When you sit back and you look at a car commercial now, you're going to see, most likely, what I did was I studied this. I sat back and I said, all right, I'm going to look at all the commercials that we're going to have on today. And I'm going to see who's going to show up. I'm going to see what kind of person that they're going to put on these commercials. Are the commercials just going to be all white people? Is it going to be all black people? Is it going to be diverse? And we're going to have old, young? Just looked at the whole gamut. Just took one day and was like, I'm going to look at all these commercials. What we had car commercial after car commercial. We had cleaning products commercials. Just different consumer product commercials. And the one thing that you always saw was a woman. Well, you not always saw, but you regularly saw a woman who was black or something, but she was a browner skin, and you saw a white gentleman. And the reason is, and it's a good reason, is because if you have a black woman there, then she appeals to the black population. And if she's black, but she has a little mix to her, she can appeal to black, she can appeal to Hispanic, she can appeal to Indian, she can appeal to all of these different facets and groups. And if you have the white gentleman to be there with her, then he appeals to the white group. He can appeal to, as they call it, the white male group. And so you have this group of the woman and the man selling a product, and they appeal to everyone. Now, what's wrong with that? Nothing. When it comes into play, though, is when you have it commercial after commercial after commercial. And so as I sat back and I looked in just one day, I saw one commercial, and I saw over 20 commercials. There was one commercial where it had a black couple. It was a black man and a black woman. There were multiple commercials where they had white man, white woman. But the overwhelming majority of the commercials had a black woman, white man. And so the message that may be able to be sent unintentionally is, you gotta have a white pass. Black on black, as I say it, and I jokingly say it, black on black crime is when they sit back and you have a black person and another black person, but you don't have a white pass. And so you're not gonna be able to reach the whole dynamic of people. You're locked into your one little spot. And so what that then means is that you send a signal to young people, up and coming people, young kids. If I want to be successful now, I'm gonna have to figure out, I'm gonna have to have me a pass. Now, what is that pass gonna be? Well, if I end up seeing someone of a different race and, we end up falling in love and having a relationship, well, boom, I got that pass. But if I don't go that way, then I got to find another pass. Well, how did I find that pass? Well, maybe I can find that pass by just having a whole bunch of friends who are of a different race. Or maybe I can find that pass by going to a certain school of a different race. Or maybe I can find that pass by, let me go to a church that just has all different race. Let me find a way to have that pass so that I can be successful. And that's the signal that we may unintentionally be sending. And so the discussion is, why is that okay? Think with me now. Really just think with me. What famous black person outside of sports that you know that doesn't have the white pass? What famous black person outside of sports doesn't have the white pass? More so than who does, who doesn't? And so that's the question that you didn't sit back and you look at. When you look at your politics and you say, well, when we look at the top, the top positions, president would be top, vice president would be top, If you had somebody on the Supreme Court, that's pretty much a top position. White pass, white pass, white pass. And you sit back and you, well, all right. Well, let's look at everybody who's on TV, anchors, and when you look at sports anchors, when you look at television anchors, and we say, well, who's reached some of the top doesn't have the white pass? Not that we want to just sit back and point out individual people, but if you sit back and you kind of peel away the onion, you're like, white pass. This person's married to a white person. This person's married to a white person. This person's married to a white person. That's not a problem until you sit back and you look at why is the overwhelming majority of those people married to white people. Is it because they're just surrounded by white people and that's who they ended up marrying? Or is it a situation of the only way you're getting in the door is if you have this pass? Again, this is a little bit tough because you sit back and you say, well, what are you saying? Are you really just coming down on interracial couples? No, not at all. But what I'm saying is we may be holding back Black people unintentionally, knowing that we're holding back Black people who decide that I'm going to marry another Black person, or holding back Black people who, man, my mother is Black and my father is Black. Are we unintentionally holding back those people because not only are white people more comfortable with someone who has a white pass, Black people are more okay with someone who has a white pass? We've been dealing with this issue since the beginning. Brown paper bag test. The light-skinned person, where we have the arguments between the dark-skinned and the light-skinned person, or the light-skinned person really being more accepted. Even though you could have a Black mother and a Black father, that's technically, if you're light enough, that's technically a white pass. And so, but the question then comes back to where I want to start. As a Christian, where's this discussion point there? When you really think about it, is that something that the church, can we talk about? Can we go into? Is that really our zone? When we sit back and we say, well, I look at what Jesus was saying, and I see how, as a Jew, he dealt with other races or other non-Jews. And we talk about the Gentiles, or you look at what Paul was saying as, when you take a look at how Paul was trying to bring the church to everyone, Jews and Gentiles. Is it a situation where we can really have a discussion about race, and that be what we should be doing as a church? And we have a comment, and the comment is great premise. It's integration versus assimilation. Yes, and that's exactly what we're hitting on. The white pass is assimilation. So you need to physically show us, outwardly show us that you have assimilated into our culture, or you physically assimilated into being safe. And so I don't want to go too much into it and then belabor it, because we're going to have two guests on next week, and we're going to really discuss how they see the situation with having the white pass. But there was a separate topic, but I think it was related. I sat back and I listened to a radio show this week. And what the gentleman said on the show was that there's a double standard between how interracial couples are looked at. When you have a famous Black man who marries a white woman, in the Black community, man, we give him a terribly hard time. Like, oh, look at you. You think you something. You don't went out here. You done got a white girl. Kanye West had a song that many people know. And basically he was joking and saying, I'm gonna be famous and then go get me a white girl. That's how you're gonna know I'm famous. But for a Black man, there's this negative connotation of, hey man, you done sold out. You done went and got you a white girl. You think you something special. But then they said that when it's a Black woman, and she goes and gets a white man, there's no problem. You don't hear that. You never hear that on the stuff. So it was a double standard there. And so that does bring a wrinkle and a nuance into the whole situation of what are we doing here? Why is it a thing? Why is that? Where is the problem? Why are we having a problem between a black man and a white woman? They even went so far to say, had Obama married a white woman, he would have never been president. But Kamala has married a white man, and no one cares. And so it's even division there that is being brought up in the sense of this white pass. Another comment is, as African Americans, do we bring anything to the table? Good point. So the reason we have a white pass is because we don't have anything to bring to the table. Or that's the way that we're feeling, or that's the way that we're portraying. And so I think, personally, I think that the problem is not what we're doing here. The problem is not what you see. There is no problem in per se the white pass, seeing it. But the problem is the message that we're sending our children. Is this message every time your child just sees the white pass, sees the white pass, sees the white pass? There's nothing negative there, no negative connotation there, other than the fact that what are you telling your daughter? You're not good enough the way you are. You got to have something else. When we're telling your son, look, if you really want to reach the heights that you think that you can, you're going to have to go outside your race. Your race isn't good enough. As the comment said, what do African Americans have to bring to the table? And so as we are in February and as we are talking in African, Black History Month, that's the question that we have to ask. Are we good enough? Do we have to have the pass? Do we have to have some kind of acceptance from other communities? Or are we good enough as we are? And so between that and the dissection of how we should do it from the church, that is a discussion. And so hopefully, I would hope that next week you will join us when we have this discussion. And hopefully next week that you will have comments and questions that you will bring to the table as well. This is a tough discussion. It's a mature discussion. Everybody can't have it. Some people will just sit back and be like, man, don't talk about race. I don't see race. Let's not talk about that, especially race in the church. You're fooling yourself. I'm just be blunt with it. You're fooling yourself. Race exists. If God made all these different people, why are we not going to talk about it? Put in all this work for brown skin, darker brown skin, lighter brown skin, white skin, a skin with some thicker skins and thinner skins, thin skins for different types of weather. It's so beautiful to see all these different people. Why are we not going to talk about it? We're going to act like it doesn't exist. You did all this work, and I'm going to be like, I don't see it. That would be crazy. So please join us next week, same time at 8:00. We'll go through. Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, February 17th. For those of you who are not watching live, and here at Imani Christian Ministries, we will have an Ash Wednesday service. So not really a service. We'll impose ashes. And so if you look at the address on the screen, we will be imposing ashes here at Imani starting at 6:00. And we invite you to come and receive your ashes. You come in, we will be socially distanced, have your mask. You will come in one door and we'll go out another door so that there's not a big a crowd or people really crossing over one another. Also, if weather permitting, if you are out in your car and you feel more comfortable that way, we will actually come out to your car and then ashes will be imposed as well. So that if you're interested in still participating in Ash Wednesday, I know some places will not be able to do that. We will have it here at Imani Christian Ministries. Thursday, we have our Bible study. That's at 7:00, Facebook and YouTube. And same thing with service on Sunday at 10:00, Facebook and YouTube. Please join us. And again, next week we'll be here at 8:00 to discuss the White Pass. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. Feel free at any time, again, to keep the conversation going. Comments in the chat box, we will keep it going. But next week, we will discuss the White Pass. Thank you. Appreciate you coming out, and we will see you again next week.